Life is a regulation game, and sometimes it gets complex, especially when top-down agendas conflict with our body-up agenda. Part 3 starts with triggers and makes it clear why regulation strategies are both essential and complicated for us, individually and as a culture. Let's talk about triggers. You're at a restaurant, feeling safe with friends. A man passes by and you catch a whiff of the aftershave that your abusive father wore. You may not even notice the smell, but your nervous system does. It revs up inside in a threat response. You may know you're safe, but your nervous system doesn't. It keeps you on high alert, even though your father is long dead. This can be confusing and discouraging. We can know we are safe. The environment can be calm, yet we cannot settle down because we are wired to interpret our own internal activation as a sign of external danger. This is a situation where interactive regulation is particularly helpful because we are wired to assess safety and downshift together. So learn what kind of connection helps and reach for it. Shame about our threat responses often makes us try to hide, ignore, deny, or repress them, just when we need help the most. So be discerning about who you ask for help, but do ask. Fight, flight, and freeze responses make us temporarily stupid because they pull oxygen out of the brain. So, when you can think clearly, plan ahead for what to do when you get stuck in a threat response. If shifting out of threat responses were simple, you would not be watching this video. So here's the situation. We want to shift out of threat responses as soon as we're safe. But in threat response, we stop thinking clearly. We often cannot tell that the threat is past. Shame makes us want to hide and avoid people. We take our own internal upset as a sign of external danger. And top-down interventions do not work. This is the time you can expect to need help from competent, attuned others. So, if you don't already have people to turn to, learn co-regulation skills, learn strategies for canceling shame, and build relationships where you practice body-up regulation skills. Then, when you get stuck in a dysregulated state, you can assess your resources and reach for help. Re-regulation gets pretty easy when you have the resources you need. Dysregulation means we get stuck in states we don't want to be in, or we cannot get to states we do want to be in. Usually that means we're too revved up, too shut down, or unable to connect or trust. It's as if our ANS is acting like an operating system that has some serious bugs in it. It's not adjusting to the task at hand. We may be depressed or frozen and unable to get motivated to do anything. We may be revved up and unable to control our emotions, or rest, digest our food, or get to sleep. We may get uncomfortable around people and have trouble speaking up for ourselves, or we can't stop talking, or we find ourselves bossing other people around. So it makes sense that dysregulation is bad for our health and bad for our relationships. Okay, this is depressing, so learn some regulation skills. Short term, dysregulation can leave us stuck, depressed, and unable to earn a living, or on edge, panicky, and overreactive to everything. We're too afraid of people or too misattuned to others to build close relationships. Or we try to self-medicate and get addicted. We desperately want to change how we feel. So we do, using coffee, cigarettes, pot, alcohol, opioids, gambling, porn, and other addictions, sometimes at great cost to ourselves, our families, and society. Long-term, dysregulation often leaves us stressed and unable to sleep well and heal. This wears out the basic life support systems that are regulated by the autonomic nervous system: cardiovascular system, digestive system, immune system, and inflammatory system. This leaves us sick and unhappy, shortens our lives, and costs us billions of dollars. It also diminishes our bandwidth for cooperation and handling intensity and complexity in our personal, political, and planetary worlds. So, build your regulation skills. Primitive versus collaborative culture. We are wired to regulate together. However, as our society loses co-regulation skills, we become dysregulated, more primitive, and less collaborative at all levels, including our leadership. We go reactive, combative, rigid, addictive, or absent in the face of complexity, intensity, and threat. Creativity and new learning dry up. Our emotions hijack our thinking and our values. We turn away from complex or intense problems like climate change, economic instability, and political upheaval, but the problems do not go away. When we are regulated, we can hold steady with complexity, intensity, and threat. We can stay present, collaborative, inclusive, hopeful, and flexible. Creative problem-solving thrives. We can stay compassionate. We can think and feel at the same time. A well-regulated society produces well-regulated, collaborative leaders who can think inclusively about the big picture. Without effective co-regulation skills, we elect and tolerate reactive partisan politicians who go primitive and think in terms of black and white, and might makes right power plays. So let's learn and practice co-regulation skills. Summary. What are we regulating? The autonomic, think automatic, nervous system. What does it mean to regulate my autonomic nervous system? It means I can calm down when I'm not busy. I can rev up when I need to. I can attune to others readily when I want to communicate or problem solve. Why does it matter? Regulation is essential for health and longevity, for avoiding or clearing addiction, for emotional sanity and happiness, for collaborative relationships, and for building our capacity to take on a complex world without getting overwhelmed. And remember, getting triggered into threat responses is not particularly bad for us. Getting stuck in threat responses is the problem. And turning to attuned others for co-regulation is often the quickest way to re-regulate. Body Up co-regulation is efficient and fun, and it works. So put some life skills in your toolbox and build some co-regulatory relationships. Thank you for joining me in learning about the importance of regulating your autonomic nervous system. To learn more, visit my website, www.buildingsturdyrelationships.com, where you will find more videos, blog posts, printable handouts, and information about my upcoming skills workshops on embodiment and body up co-regulation.